Figueroa and Vasconcelos, and Assembly Members John Laird and Joe Smidian to recognize everything that Ken and Wigsy have done that has merited this Lifetime Achievement recognition from BAMAC, as well as the wonderful 20 years of BAMAC's efforts in our community. I think that the greatest reflection of what Ken and Wigsy have put together and what all of the board members and volunteers and supporters of BAMAC have strengthened over the years is the wonderful flourishing of openly gay candidates that we're seeing running for public office in the South Bay, candidates like Jamie McLeod and Evan Lowe and others who are running in this election. I think that so many times we don't realize the seeds that we are sowing, the effect that the fact that these candidates are running will have on young people in the community who have the opportunity to see someone running for office who looks like them and who represents their own lives and their own feelings. It's very, very important. And being in the legislature with John Laird and the other members of the first LGBT caucus in any legislature in the 50 states. I really believe that the fact that we've had Ken and Wigsy's efforts and their generosity of spirit has created the wellspring that this kind of activism can come from. So thank you so much, Ken and Wigsy, and everyone who's supported BAMAC throughout the years. Thank you.
I know when BAMAC makes endorsements that your expectation is that you're endorsing people who are going to continue to function in office the way they did when you put them through the questionnaire process and the way they answered the questions that you posed to them. And I know that your expectation is also that you hope and you expect that you elect and support people with political courage. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Mayor of San Jose, Ron Gonzalez, who took a lot of political courage working with Councilmember Yeager to acknowledge the marriage licenses that came out of San Francisco. At a time in particular when we know recalls can actually happen. And he did it anyway, and he did it with great finesse and elegance, and it's an honor to introduce him to you tonight.
Mouthful of salmon. I'm sorry for being late, but I rushed back from Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles for the last 2 days. Yesterday, giving a speech to a conference of mayors from all over California as we continue to struggle to find ways to build affordable housing for working families of all income levels. And that was and today I had a very different experience. I sit on the California Film Commission, so I was rubbing elbows with people like Clint Eastwood and Danny DeVito and wondering, what am I doing on this commission? But what I'm doing on that commission is everything else the commission is doing. That's trying to keep film production and television production here in California so that the working families who depend on that industry have jobs in the future too. So I rushed back, ran over to the Mexican Heritage Plaza because that's a big night for them. Tonight's a big night for them. They're celebrating their 5th birthday today and welcoming a beautiful exhibit from the Smithsonian Museum. So if you have a chance, I really encourage you to go over to the Mexican Heritage Plaza and see that exhibit that will be on display until I think it's November 20th. But I had to come to a BAMAC event, primarily because tonight you honor 4 wonderful people. They've already been referenced. One of them, I'm proud to say, is a colleague of mine who I serve with on the City Council here in San Jose, Ken Yeager, and I've enjoyed working with Ken on a number of issues. And as much as we think of San Jose as a city that celebrates diversity, I think this last year we've learned that we still have some educating to do. And what we thought was a very simple act by the City Council to recognize these gay marriages that had taken place in San Francisco, and by doing so, extending health care benefits to the children of these employees obviously got a few people very angry. And when I sat down with them, I think it was the second meeting that I sat down with the group who was threatening to set a recall first against the entire city council, and they said, let's not worry about those folks, let's go after the guy at the top, the mayor. I told them, look, it's plain and simple. We just disagreed on the issue of gay marriage, but if you feel strongly about it, and if you feel that you need to take on a recall effort and campaign against our effort to extend health care benefits to the children of these employees, then let's go, let's do it. And I just felt that quite frankly, that if the voters of San Jose were to turn me out of office for something as important to me personally as extending health care benefits to children, then that's fine. I'll go back to the private sector, make a heck of a lot more money, and be able to sleep at night. But I was able to take that position because of BAMAC and the members in this room and your support, because it's your support that has encouraged me over the years to run for elective office, to stay in public service, the most honorable profession still around in our country and in our society. And I want to thank you so much for the years of dedication. The board of directors of BAMAC has changed over the years, but they cannot do your work unless you come to events like this. And I know they very much appreciate your participation and your support at this dinner. And to my friends, Wigsy and Ken and Donna and Mike, congratulations, well deserved. I love you all, and let's keep up the fight. We've got a long way to go yet, so let's not get complacent. Thank you very much.
Now we are moving on to the Community Service Award, and I'm going to invite a wonderful, thoughtful woman who is really focused on making sure that teenagers feel loved and protected and cared for, and that's Deborah Dake. If I can invite Deborah Dake up.
We're having a mother-in-law discussion because my daughter Megan, who's 2.5, is dating Cindy's son Brennan, but he was crabby tonight, so she left him at home. But Megan's heartbroken, but you know, go visit her in the back, okay? Aren't we beautiful tonight? I mean, oh, there you are. Hi. We're gorgeous. You know, the board had an option of tuxedos or drag this evening. What do you think? I was dressed by Judy Rickard and Company, in case you didn't recognize the applause. But I did opt for sensible shoes tonight, and that was only so you could tell Wigsy and me apart. She's the one in the spiked pumps. Sorry, Buttercup. You know, I tried that joke using Rebecca Cohn, and it wasn't nearly as funny. It is said that the world knows little about its best-known heroes. Tonight, that may be so of our Community Service Award recipient. Many of you know Adana Amoroso, and many of you, thank you, yes. Many of you know that she shattered the glass ceiling as the first female, the highest-ranking female officer to retire from San Jose Police Department. Not only that, but Adana shattered the blue ceiling in being the highest-ranking lesbian in the force. Now, let's hear applause. These are incredible things. Okay, you do want to save some for the end because she's going to be up here, but they're incredible achievements. And some of you know that she was one of the first San Jose patrol officers, that prior to her coming on board in 1976, women were not full-fledged officers. Some of you may even know that she received the Medal of Valor by fighting off a razor-wielding rapist. Now say that 3 times. She fought off a razor-wielding rapist as a decoy, and she later helped bring him into custody. Some of you know that she rose to the ranks, reaching captain in 1993, where she was the first woman to land, as she calls it, a real guy's job. Adana was running San Jose Special Operations, where she was in charge of the bomb squad, the helicopter, and SWAT teams. In 1989, she was the first woman to be appointed as deputy chief, in charge of recruitment, hiring, equality assurance, and a $200 million budget. And with credentials like that, Adana, you can actually step in and run BAMEC for us. In my conversation, though, with Adana this afternoon, I said, I want to know what it really meant to you. What was it all about? These are things, we've read in the paper and have talked about, but what was your finest moment on the force? And there was silence on the other end of the phone, and tears were welling up in my eyes as I could hear her choke. And she said, it was the day that I came out. Adana said to me, all I wanted to be was a good cop, and once I had done that, it was time for me to come out. It was time for me to open doors for others who were experiencing the same hardship of not being able to be themselves. It was during a power walk, during a day-long diversity training. I know a lot of you have done that power walk where they say, those of you who have mental illness in your family, please step forward. And then they talk about the stereotypes of mental illness, and those of you who have alcoholism in your family, etc. And when they came to the gay and lesbian point, it was the only one where the facilitator said, you don't have to be honest in answering this question. That was 1990. And Adana had been talking with a friend of hers, a fellow officer who was a lesbian, and her friend had said, Adana, I'm going forward when they ask that question, when they ask about gays and lesbians. And Adana looked at her friend and said, I'm not letting you do that alone. So together, they stepped forward and became the first openly lesbian officers in San Jose Police Department. That day, Adana Amoroso put a face to the jokes that were unending about gay and lesbian people. That day, Adana Amoroso stood among her peers and said, I am a lesbian. She didn't know what to expect, and she said that the people around her cried, were totally shocked that she would come out to her peers. They hugged her, and for months afterwards, they shared stories with her about the gay and lesbian members of their families. Some of us have worked tirelessly for decades in our fight for civil rights, and some of us have changed the world in more quiet ways. I believe that each individual act of courage is instrumental in saving a life somewhere. So please stand, thank you. Please stand with me tonight and join in spirit as Adana Amoroso takes one more power walk tonight to receive our Community Service Award. Please stand. Adana.
Story so well, much better than I even told it, because she used all the right vernacular and everything, so it was wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this honor. And people really can't do this alone. They can't just step across that line and do that. Was that power walk? Was that what that exercise was called? I didn't even know all these years. So I want to thank Wigsy, because I met Wigsy back in 1987, somewhere around in there, and I think knowing Wigsy really gave me the courage to step across that line and be the sort of leader that I really wanted to be during that period of time. So thank you again, Wigsy, and we all know why we're honoring her, and it's for things like that. All of us have a Wigsy story, I'm sure. And that's mine, because I don't think I would have had the courage without knowing that I had backup someplace. You know, cops have to have backup. And Wigsy was really my backup. And beyond that, I just want to say, how the hell, I hope that we can get rid of that idiot in the Oval Office. Make sure that every one of your neighbors gets out to vote, and every one of your friends, and call in every damn favor you got. Because, you know, guns can only go so far. That's what I'm using against all my neighbors. They better vote for John Kerry. Thank you so much, and again, it's so wonderful to be honored by this group. Thank you.
You know, Donna, I didn't know it was Wigsy who taught you how to speak. I love that. The idiot in the Oval Office. That's priceless. And now it is my great honor to introduce to you the woman that we fondly refer to as Buttercup, Wigsy Sievertson.
And it's not true, I didn't teach Donna how to speak, she did it all by herself. I have the privilege to pass out an award tonight that touches me at the very depths of my heart and my soul. And I want to tell you a little story about this man. Back when Pete Knight was still with us, he has left us, thank God. We had a little thing called Proposition 22, defining marriage between a man and a woman, several times over, I might add. And I decided that we needed to have our next awardee's support and his help. So I called Mike Fox on the phone and I said, Mike, I'd love to have a chat with you about Proposition 22. Could we arrange to do that? And he immediately said, of course. Now, this is in January, right after school began, and he said, I'll be right over. Well, I don't know if you know our campus. Be right over on our campus when students are first coming to school is a bit of a trick because there's no parking. So he came, I told him I'd come to him, but oh no, he came to me. And he walked into my office, and he had a newspaper in his hand, and he said, Wigsy, he said, I don't think I can be with you on this one. He said, I just got the bishop's letter in the big Catholic newspaper, and I'm a Catholic. And I said, yes, I understand that. And he said, well, you know, the bishops and the Pope, I'm never to be deterred by bishops and a Pope. Minor players in the world. I said, I understand and I want to respect that, but can we talk? He said, I'd love to hear your story. So Mike sat in my office at the university and sat for about an hour. and we talked. And he asked questions, and he wanted to learn, and he wanted to know what the issues were. And when we finished, he looked at me and he said, "I'll be leaving and going to the bishop now. This is a matter of justice." Not only did Mike go to the bishop as a matter of justice, but he also served on the committee dealing with the issues pertaining to priest behavior. And it was a very, very, very difficult time for him, because all too often it was too simple and too easy to blame the problems on the gay community. And Mike did not let them do that. Now, you all know that I go to church once a year, and that's because somebody takes me to Gay Pride Church. But when I think of people who belong to religious organizations, and I think of them with reverence and with regard, I think of Mike Fox. And Mike, would you please join us?
I remember the day well. One of the things I was criticized for when I took that position was people in the community say, "How could you, being such a good Catholic, take that position?" I said, "It's because I'm a good Catholic." And one of my most treasured possessions is a few years ago, Wigsy presented me with a book as a gift called The Papal Sins. Incidentally, the book was written by a classmate of mine in high school, Gary Wills, who's quite a writer. But the words in the book are either important or unimportant. But the words that Wigsy inscribed are the most important to me in my life. And they said to Mike for his dedication to human rights and I suffer from a little Parkinson's disease, and social justice. And those words are more meaningful to me than anything I've seen. And Wigsy, thank you for everything. And thank all of you.
Just a quick word about Mike while he's sitting down. You know, in the life of public service, one of the challenges that we have that are in the public realm, or people like Mike, because you're such a public person, have, is changing your mind or letting new information impact the way you think or feel in a public way. Sometimes that's looked upon as being weak or flip-floppy. Does that sound familiar? But I think it is one of the highest characters of a human being to be able to take new information, align it with their values, and see the world in a different way. So I'm really honored that you got that. And to Adana, you are an amazing woman. But if you guys ever want to have a good, hard laugh, spend a little time with this gal. Honestly, she can make the most dire situation feel like just another day in paradise. Donna, I'm really proud of you too, and you've been a role model for me, and I know many women throughout this city. Now, for the main event. It gives me great pleasure to introduce those folks who are going to come up and speak about Ken and Wigsy.
I was assigned the task tonight of taking us back to 1984, describing what the political climate was when BAMAC was formed. And after thinking about it and getting ready. I just want to assure you, we're going to return to 2004 in a few minutes, because it was pretty startling to think about it. In 1984, we were fighting over just what we were going to be called. When I was elected mayor just a few months before BAMEC was formed, there wasn't a newspaper article or a TV story that didn't refer to me as an avowed homosexual, as if we all took, Wigsy used to always say, as if we all took oaths to do it. The term GLBT was 17 or 18 years into the future. We were 5 years or 6 years after Anita